Welcome to Evilive, the live media commentary show that answers the question, how many people can see the future in Westeros? Subscribe if you're new to the channel, because today we are reviewing HBO's A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Season 1, Episode 4, 7. That's right, it's called 7, because of a very good reason, actually. It was directed by Sarah Adina Smith. It was written by Aziz Barnes and Annie Julia Wyman and Ira Parker. And of course, it premiered on not the 8th, it premiered on the Friday. So that was like the 6th, I think, because of the Super Bowl. So it aired early. And I was waiting on this because by the time that this aired, I had already read The Hedge Knight, which the first season of this series is based on. And sweet hell, is it incredibly exciting about what's going to be happening. I didn't know how they were going to end this episode, whether they were going to go through with the actual battle itself or not, but this episode is fantastic. So we ended last episode with Dunk being taken by the Targaryens, right? Because he assaulted Aegon Targaryen. And so now he needs to face justice with Prince Baelor. This is not a great situation to be in. And so he's sitting in his cell, just sort of wallowing and waiting on the outcome of, he assumes he's just going to be murdered. Like he's going to be killed as an example, or they're going to take his hand and foot for having struck the king and kicked the king. Or I'm sorry, not the king, but a prince. So he's pretty much down in the dumps. And we have Egg, who enters and gives him some food and tries to apologize to him, and Dunk's not having it. Dunk feels betrayed. He's wounded. He's emotionally hurt. And Dunk's like, I didn't mean anything to be wrong. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. And Dunk's like, yes, you did. That's why you lied. You know, just saying straight up, look, if you didn't think it was wrong, then you wouldn't have lied about who you were. You would have been honest, but you didn't. And you didn't care about me. You didn't care who you were siring for or the consequences of them. So, you know, don't pretend like you get off the hook on this, because I'm the one that's going to lose a hand and a foot, dick, is sort of the subtext of the scene. And so he's eventually brought in front of the council for his fate, and he declares, I want a trial by combat. He already had a bit of a conversation with Baelor, where Prince Baelor Targaryen, who is next in line for the throne, and the Iron Throne. And Baelor is basically like, look, are you a good fighter? Because you're probably going to have to fight for your life, or you're going to willingly have to have your arm or your hand and foot cut off. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I've been trained to fight, so I know how to fight. And he's like, what would you have done? You would have done the exact same thing I did in your case. He's like, yeah, but I'm a prince. You're not. You cannot strike a prince. Full stop, period. He's like, but I'm a knight. This is what knights do. We stand up for the innocent. And it's a just cause. And it says everything you need to know about Dunk's character. That he is a knight, probably. It's never been explicitly shown that he was ever knighted. So we don't know if he's making it up at this point still, or if he actually was knighted. In any case, he certainly holds the ideals of a knight. And Baelor sees that in him. But Baelor also sees a lot. He's down in this area, for, first of all, just to show his face to the people, to let them know that their king, in this case represented by their prince, cares about them and wants to be involved in the land. They don't have dragons anymore, and so they can't just go around fucking people up for no reason. But Prince Aegon Targaryen killed that horse, which pissed everyone off, and now Prince Baelor is doing his best to keep it all together and come out on top in some way. And so he's like, all right, well, look, your right is a right to battle. You can fight him, and he either withdraws or you beat his ass until he, in combat until he withdraws his claim against you. And so when he's standing up there, he's like, yeah, I want a trial by combat. And Aegon straight up like, I refuse. I'm not going to do that. Knowing he will get his ass beat. There's no upside for him. He's a prince already. He has nothing to lose by just acting the coward. He's still going to be a prince when the sun goes down. But his dad and Baelor, his uncle, are like, are you out of your fucking mind? You can't refuse. You have to fight. He's like, fine, if I have to fight, it's going to be a trial by 7. And this is an old, ancient tradition when the first men came over and landed in Westeros with their 7 gods. And it just hasn't been done in like 100 years. And so it's like a big deal. Now, knights may want to be involved in it just for the renown of having been in a trial by 7 against the Targaryens. Like, this is a way to settle scores. Remember, this world just went through a huge rebellion where some people are still suffering because they were on the losing side of that rebellion. This is a perfect chance to strike back against the people that won in a safe, respectable way. But it's also a way for some knights who were just like humiliated by Aegon Targaryen to get back at him. And so, but Dunk doesn't know any of that because, you know, he's naive. He's a little bit ignorant. And he's trying to live here. And he doesn't know anyone. He doesn't have any knights to vouch for him. He has made some significant relationships since he's been here, but he doesn't see it that way because he thinks those are not knightly situations. Those are just like people I talk to. There's no way they could actually like me or something. He has this constant sort of, what is that called? Imposter syndrome. About being a knight, about being of value as a human being, about being worthy of anything in any way. And it was really drilled into him because he was in flea bottom. Like, he was probably the son of a whore. His father didn't care about him. He was just running around as a ne'er-do-well when his master found him and had him become his new squire. And then kind of treated him like shit, even though he did still, you know, he treated him better than Fleabottom treated him, of course. But he still like beat him and stuff. And so he just has a lot of self-doubt about what he's capable of and who he is as an individual, even though he's actively trying to find out if he can be this aspirational knight that he was taught he should be. Ultimately, it finds out that Daron, the brother of Aegon, who also ran away, was the drunk at the inn who said, "I've seen you in my dreams. You stay away from me," and ran upstairs. He also said that Dunk stole Egg away from him. And so now he's got 2 people saying that he's a ne'er-do-well in 2 different ways. 1, he kicked the shit out of Aegon, and 2, he stole Egg from Daron. And so with these 2, Aegon is using that as an excuse. Well, let's make sure Daron gets a chance at fighting back too, because he also accused him of something. So they're like, oh, whatever. All right, we'll do that. And Dunk doesn't have any clue about what this is. He's like, what? I have to fight 7 men? And they're like, don't be an idiot. No, you just have to find 6 other people to stand with you. He's like, I don't have anyone. I'm all alone. And, you know, he's not. He doesn't realize he's not, but he's not. So he goes off. He finds Stefan Fossaway, and he does this great speech. Like, we were here before the Targaryens ever came, and we will be here long after they leave. We will always help others from here. We've got your back. You will not die. Not on my watch. And it's this great little rousing moment where you're just like, there's hope. He's going to live. And so he goes off to get his friends to help fight for him. And then Daron comes in with Egg, and Dunk almost murders the poor sap. He's clearly drunk. He wants to continue drinking because he, like some of the other Targaryens, have the ability to see into the future. And he sees that there's a dragon that's looming over Dunk, but Dunk kills the dragon. And he doesn't know if Dunk kills him, but the dragon dies and falls down on top of Dunk. And he believes that he is that dragon. And so he doesn't want to be anywhere near Dunk because he foresees Dunk being, you know, at the forefront of a dead Targaryen. And again, we already had one fortune teller last episode. Now we have this other fortune teller. House of the Dragon has their Targaryen fortune tellers. Like, they're everywhere. There's, with so many people who can see the future, why is anything a surprise in this world? Like, seriously. It seems like every single prophecy is true and fulfilled. None of them seem to be misleading or lies. So at what point does everyone just say, all right, let's start listening to these fucking kids because they clearly know what they're talking about? Because what they say happens. And Darren is straight up saying it. He's like, look, you're going to kill a dragon. I don't want to be around for that. So look, I'm going to fight against you because I have to, but I will fall down. You just give me one good hit on the chest. Please don't hit my face. I'll drop like a bag of potatoes and no harm, no foul. I won't get back up. So you don't have to worry about me. That's only 5 or 6 people you have to deal with then. And he's just like, all right, fine, whatever. Like, I feel like he kind of feels bad for Daron. He's pissed because Daron lied about it and he won't tell the truth. But Daron's in a tough position himself. He doesn't want to be a knight. He doesn't want to do any of this. He's trying to be his own independent human like we've seen other Targaryens do. But the machine that is the Targaryens will not let these individual Targaryens have freedom. They have to stay in the machine and work for and on behalf of the machine. And that's a problem for people who just are not built for it. Because let's be honest, not everyone can be a ruler. Not everyone can be a good ruler, as we have seen in Westeros already. So Stefan goes off to find him some help. Daron tells him that Maekar and 3 Kingsguard will fight for Aerion. Daron apologizes to Dunk, but promises to intentionally fall off and not hurt anyone. And then he tells him his prophetic dream. Steely Pate finds Dunk and tells him that Tanzel fled to Dorne, but she gave him the shield to give to Dunk. Dunk sees the shield and he's sort of overcome with emotions. And I love Steely Pate. I mean, this character is just an armor. There's no reason to have him be an emotional core type character, but he's there for Dunk when Dunk needs him. And he gives him hope when Dunk needs hope, and showing him that the star on the shield. And first of all, he also took care of buffing up the shield, as it were, making it stronger and everything. But Dunk is all down, crestfallen because the meteor looks like it's falling in failure. And he's like, no. Look, this tree is alive. It's thriving. Look at the green leaves. You're going to be fine. He doesn't know if he's going to be fine. And he probably doesn't think he's going to be fine. But he's there for him as a friend in a moment when Dunk desperately needs a friend. And I love that. So as dawn breaks, Egg brings Lionel, Robin, Hard-Eyeing, and Sir Humphrey Beesbury to fight for Dunk. Lionel Baratheon, of course. Baratheon being a badass. But Stefan shows up and he's like, hey, I was offered a lordship by the Targaryens, so see ya. After his rousing speech, after saying he's going to find all these soldiers for him, he pops smoke to the other side of promise of lordship. Which then the younger Fossaway is just like, look, knight me. I will take his place. Just knight me and I'll do it. Dunk doesn't do it. Now, I think Dunk doesn't do it because he's not a knight and he doesn't want, I don't know this for sure. This is I've even read this short story series and I just don't know for sure. But at this moment, I don't think Dunk, 1, knows how to do it because he's not a knight. 2, he doesn't want to do it even if he was a knight, because that means that this guy who is his friend is going to have to, Stefan Fossaway is going to have to die. I'm sorry, Raymond Fossaway is going to have to die in the battle because he's clearly not a very good fighter. Dunk's first exposure with him was him getting his ass kicked by Stefan, who just walked out on him. So he clearly just feels bad. And he's like, I don't know that this is the right thing. And then Lionel Baratheon steps in. He's like, hey, I got you, homie. You go try to talk to them and see if you can find another knight. So Dunk goes out in front of everyone and implores on anyone with a sense of honor or justice or right to stand up with him. And they just mock him. Everyone just openly mocks him. And it just goes to show that there are not true knights out there. And if there are, they're so politically hamstrung in this world that they dare not stand up against Targaryens, regardless. And again, they're in an area which sided with Targaryens in the first place. They weren't the rebels. And so you don't have a lot of people with bad blood toward the Targaryens. And so why would they want to stand up and fight against them, especially on behalf of someone that no one knows? Some hedge knight out of nowhere. So he's all sort of alone. And there's a dude who stands up for a moment. You're like, ooh, he's a big guy. He's going to fight for him. And then he rips one, just a big old fart, and sits back down. And of course, that would happen in this series because this series is very tongue-in-cheek and sort of slapsticky in moments to cut tension and let you know that this is meant to be a ground level situation, not a high political thing. But it was just so rude. It actually just made me really mad. Dunk gives this rousing speech and calls out, "Is there no good true knights among you?" You know? And then the gates open and we see Baelor, Prince Baelor, come riding out. And Dunk's like, ah, shit, he's going to tell me to shut up and fight. And Baelor's like, I will stand with you. Baelor, again, there's a couple reasons why he could be doing this, or all reasons why he's doing this. But first and foremost, he knows that Dunk is a good human being and that Dunk was right to do what he did. He wasn't in the position that he should have done it, which means he's in the wrong, but he's a knight and he has to stand up on behalf of the innocent. And his nephew was being a little cunt, and so he had to stand up against him. And he's doing it on behalf of all the small folk who saw what he did and murdered that horse for no fucking reason. So they're all already pissed at Targaryens in this tournament. This is a chance for him to ease that tension, to set it right, and just see what happens in this battle. Now, this means the Kingsguard cannot fight against him. He's a prince. They're sworn to protect him. So the Kingsguard cannot attack Prince Baelor. So they have to fight one of the other contestants. But that also means that Prince Baelor is going to be squaring off against Maekar, his brother, because no one else, like the princes, aren't going to step to him. Aerion is going to be fighting against Dunk. And so it creates this really wonderful situation where it's just conflict building on conflict. Who's going to fight who? What's the possible outcome? And then the Game of Thrones music swells and it ends. And I'm just clawing at my face because I know what comes next. And I desperately want to see it and how it plays out in live TV. Well, live action series. It's so exciting, and it's going to be one of those moments where everyone's just like shocked and dumbstruck. I cannot wait for it to land. Oh, this was such a great setup episode, and it's only episode 4, and I think there's supposed to be 7 episodes. And this was near the end of the novella, so I wonder where they're going to go with the other episodes. I mean, the next one is probably going to be totally just battle, the Trial of 7. That's going to probably be the entirety of the episode. And there is stuff that happens after that. It's just not a lot. So they're going to have to do a couple episodes of Fallout. But oh my gosh, this is filmed so well. It is acted so well. The cinematography, the set design, the costume designers, the makeup artists. This show is firing on all cylinders. It is so goddamn good. And the music. It makes it feel small and intimate and sort of folksy when it needs to, and grand scale when it needs to. Oh, it's so good all the time. I am so happy that this series exists because it scratches that Game of Thrones itch that I desperately wanted, but it's also telling such a good story in a world that is so entertaining. I'm beside myself with being so happy about this show and what it's done. And for that, it gets 5 out of 5 Evil Eyes. Yeah, it was too short. Yes, but you know what? I loved this episode, and I will forgive its shortness for just firing on all cylinders when it needed to. And especially at this point in the story, it has to. And look, we're looking at a Dunk who he's never been tested. He's never fought another knight before. We don't even know if he's actually a knight. That could just be him saying it. Like, we have no evidence. So I'm so excited to try to find out how they're going to portray this, because he is in the novella, he is plural. He is constantly in his head saying he's stupid and he's not worth anything. He's never going to amount to being a knight. He's just a failure. He's constantly talking down to himself in his head. And it makes it so if you've ever dealt with depression or a sense of lack a sense of self-worth or imposter syndrome, you will connect with Dunk in the novellas, because that's very much how he feels about himself, and is portrayed pretty well in the show. But in the show, it's more from a lens of naivete and ignorance rather than self-doubt and self-loathing that you get from the books, because you can't really get that inner dialogue very much in TV series. But I think it's acted so well, and the characters are just so lovable and fearsome and frustrating and maddening and engaging. I mean, I went from like both sides of the coin just like that when it came to that stupid Stefan Fossaway, who's like, "You will not die on my watch," and he's like, "Sorry, I got a better offer," and just pops smoke. Like, "You dick! How dare you? I liked you." It was so funny. But that's what this whole show is about. It's just about this incredible world that George R. R. Martin has created for us to just thoroughly enjoy, through all of the emotions, you know? So look, I'm just going to say this. Next episode is going to be a fucking banger, so do not miss it. And this episode was great, and I loved it, and I cannot wait to hit the next one running. It's just going to be so good. It's going to be so good. All right. That is going to do it for today's review episode. What did you think of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode 4-7? I would like to invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the video, and leave a comment. This all goes to help other fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you to creator patron Aaron Hardy, developer patrons Chris Androu and Sam Ruiz, and all of the YouTube members. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live, so get out there and be evil.